The sun hangs low over the vast desert expanse of northern Mexico, casting an eerie glow over the seemingly endless highway. A heavily guarded U.S. military supply convoy rumbles along the desolate road, its reinforced vehicles kicking up clouds of dust. The convoy consists of armored trucks, Humvees, and personnel carriers, each loaded with high-value military equipment, classified weaponry bound for a military base near the border. The air is tense inside the vehicles. Soldiers sit in disciplined silence, eyes scanning the terrain for any signs of trouble. They know this route is notorious for cartel activity, but no confirmed threats have been reported today. Yet, despite the stillness of the desert, something feels off. A mile ahead, an abandoned truck blocks a narrow pass between two rocky cliffs. It seems like a simple roadside breakdown, but the seasoned soldiers in the lead vehicle exchange uneasy glances. This isn't right. The convoy slows, unknowingly walking into a well-laid trap. Captain Jake Callahan, a battle-hardened Navy SEAL team leader. Callahan has led dozens of high-risk operations across war zones, but nothing has ever tested him like what's about to unfold. His sharp instincts and unwavering leadership make him the glue that holds the team together. Captain Jake Callahan has spent his entire adult life in the military, forging himself into an elite warrior through years of grueling combat experience. He's fought in some of the world's deadliest war zones, the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and deep cartel territory in South America. Every mission, every battle, every loss has shaped him into the man he is today. But nothing has ever tested him like what's about to unfold. Callahan isn't just a soldier. He's a leader, the kind of man other warriors would follow into hell without question. His reputation precedes him. Among the ranks of the Navy SEALs, his name is spoken with a mix of admiration and respect. They say he has an instinct for survival, a sixth sense for danger, and a mind as sharp as a blade. He doesn't just plan missions, he lives and breathes them, analyzing every variable, every possible outcome, always thinking 3 steps ahead. But leadership isn't just about tactics, it's about trust. His team trusts him with their lives, not because he gives orders, but because he leads from the front. When bullets start flying, Callahan is always in the thick of it, not barking commands from a safe distance, but fighting shoulder to shoulder with his men, because that's who he is. A warrior, a protector, a leader. Callahan's body tells the story of his battles. His arms and torso bear scars from shrapnel, knife fights, and bullet grazes, each one a reminder of the battles he's survived. His hands are calloused from years of handling weapons. His eyes, sharp and calculating, have seen horrors that would break most men. But the worst scars? The ones no one can see. He's lost brothers in arms, soldiers who trusted him, men he couldn't save. The weight of those losses never fades. It sits on his shoulders like an unseen burden, driving him to be faster, smarter, better, so he never has to write another letter to a fallen soldier's family. And tonight, in this hostile desert, surrounded by ruthless cartel killers, he refuses to let history repeat itself. As Callahan stares out over the enemy compound, he feels it in his gut, the same feeling he's had before every brutal mission. The cartel thinks they've won. They think they're untouchable. They have no idea what's coming. With a silent nod to his team, he issues the final order. We go in dark. No mistakes. No mercy. Tonight, Callahan isn't just fighting a battle. He's delivering justice. Lieutenant Ryan Torres, the team's strategic mastermind, known for his deep knowledge of cartel operations. Torres has a history of undercover work, having infiltrated cartel networks before. He knows how they operate, and he knows how dangerous they are. Sergeant Mike Ramirez, a former cartel member turned U.S. military specialist. Ramirez's past is filled with dark secrets, but he chose a new path. His insider knowledge of cartel tactics is invaluable, but it also makes him a target. El Diablo, the ruthless cartel leader responsible for hijacking high-value shipments. His name alone strikes fear into soldiers and civilians alike. No witnesses, no survivors. That's his rule. Carlos "Ghost" Ortega, a former Mexican military officer who defected to the cartel. He was once a man of honor, but power and money corrupted him. As El Diablo's right-hand man, Ghost orchestrates military-level ambushes with brutal efficiency. Each man is about to play their part in a deadly game where only the strongest will survive. The convoy moves cautiously, inching forward as radio static fills the air. Command, we have a roadblock ahead. Do we have clearance to proceed? The lead driver radios in. Silence. Static crackles over the communication line. No response. Lieutenant Torres, riding in the second Humvee, narrows his eyes. We're in a dead zone, he mutters. No radio signals. No backup. The realization hits hard. They've been funneled into a kill zone. Soldiers tense, their grips tightening on their rifles. Something is coming. An earth-shattering explosion rips through the lead vehicle, sending it cartwheeling into the air. Flames burst from its wreckage as the convoy descends into chaos. From the hills, masked gunmen emerge, wielding RPGs, machine guns, and AK-47s. They rain down bullets, tearing into the convoy with relentless force. Ambush! Take cover! Callahan's voice cuts through the chaos as soldiers scramble to return fire. The second explosion follows, another vehicle disabled. Smoke billows as cartel trucks charge in from the rear, sealing off any escape routes. Then, two figures step forward, unmistakable even through the smoke and fire. El Diablo stands tall, his presence alone commanding fear. Ghost flanks him, his expression ice-cold. Their plan is in motion. The convoy belongs to them now. The screen fades to black as gunfire erupts. What happens next? The gunfire dies down, replaced by the sound of heavy boots crunching against dirt. The air is thick with smoke and the stench of burning metal. The once mighty convoy lies in ruin, tires smoldering, engines destroyed, bodies scattered. Survivors are yanked from their vehicles, disarmed, beaten, and forced to their knees. Blood drips from fresh wounds as cartel gunmen laugh and jeer at the defeated soldiers. El Diablo strides through the wreckage, his black boots stained with dust and blood. He watches as his men pry open military crates, their faces lighting up as they uncover state-of-the-art rifles, grenades, and encrypted communication devices. Mira esto, Chief! One of his men calls out, holding up a prototype sniper rifle. El Diablo smirks. Today is a good day. He stops in front of the bound soldiers, his dark eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. Your government will never come for you, he taunts. You are nothing but pawns in their game. But to me, you are currency. A slow clap echoes behind him. Ghost steps forward, brushing dust off his military-grade tactical vest, a relic of the life he once lived. His piercing gaze lands on Lieutenant Torres, a wicked grin spreading across his face. "I thought we buried you years ago, Torres." Torres glares back, refusing to show fear. Ghost leans down, voice barely above a whisper. "Let's see if you're as tough as you were back then." The soldiers exchange worried glances. They know what's coming next. Inside a makeshift cartel hideout, a fortified warehouse deep in cartel-controlled territory, El Diablo and Ghost inspect their newly acquired weapons. "These are worth millions," El Diablo muses, running his fingers over the cold steel of an M4 rifle. "The Americans think they can control the border? Let's see how they like their own weapons turned against them." Ghost nods. "We sell some to our allies, keep the best for ourselves." This changes everything. One of the cartel lieutenants gestures toward the prisoners, tied up in the corner. "What do we do with them?" Ghost's expression hardens. "Kill them. Every last one." But El Diablo shakes his head. "No. We ransom them first. The US government will pay to get their men back. If not, then we kill them." The prisoners exchange tense glances. Their lives are hanging by a thread. 40 miles away, deep in the desert, a Navy SEAL recon drone scans the wreckage of the convoy. Through a small screen, Captain Jake Callahan studies the grainy footage of cartel trucks driving away. His jaw tightens. He's seen this before. They didn't just hit the convoy for weapons. They took prisoners. His team, 6 of the most elite operators in the world, gathers around him. They've been tracking cartel movements for weeks, waiting for the right moment to strike. "We have a location." Torres's voice crackles over their encrypted line. Callahan's eyes narrow. "We're going in dark." The team exchanges knowing looks. 6 men against an entire cartel? The odds are impossible. But that's what they do. Callahan tightens his grip on his rifle. "Gear up. We leave in 1 hour." As night falls, the SEAL team moves into position. 2 stealth helicopters hover miles from the target. The operators do final checks on their gear: night vision goggles, suppressed rifles, combat blades. Below, the desert stretches like an endless abyss. "Let's do this." One by one, they parachute into the night, landing undetected in the rocky terrain. Meanwhile, inside the cartel hideout, Torres taps his fingers against a metal pipe, a Morse code signal, an old trick from his training days. Somewhere in the darkness, Callahan's radio picks up the faint tapping. A smile tugs at his lips. The cartel is celebrating too soon. Vengeance is coming. The desert night is silent, until it isn't. From the darkness, the first suppressed shot rings out. A cartel sentry atop. The compound wall jerks backward, a neat hole in his forehead. He crumples without a sound. Ramirez, lying prone on a distant ridge, adjusts his sniper scope. His heartbeat is steady, his breathing controlled. He lines up the next shot. Pfft. Another cartel guard slumps against a crate, his body going limp. Down below, Callahan and his team move like phantoms in the night. They slice throats, drag bodies into shadows, and sabotage security cameras. Inside the compound, cartel gunmen sit around a roaring bonfire, laughing, drinking, and boasting about their victory over the convoy. They have no idea that death is already inside their walls. The cartel stronghold is alive with drunken laughter and the clinking of beer bottles. A massive roaring bonfire blazes in the center of the courtyard, casting long, flickering shadows against the surrounding walls. The air is thick with the scent of burning wood, gun oil, and cheap tequila. Cartel gunmen lounge carelessly around the fire, their weapons either slung over their backs or lazily propped against chairs. Some brag loudly about their dominance over the region, while others boast about how easily they ambushed the US military convoy. "You should have seen their faces when we hit them with the RPGs." One of the men laughs, slapping his knee. "Like helpless little rats." Another thug, leaning back in a rusted metal chair, spins a stolen combat knife between his fingers. And those American soldiers? Weak, pathetic, begging for their lives. His words are met with howls of laughter, bottles raised in mock toasts. They have no idea that death is already inside their walls. Perched on a nearby rooftop, Ramirez adjusts his sniper rifle, his crosshairs hovering over the most vocal cartel member, the one bragging about killing unarmed prisoners. With the slow exhale of a seasoned professional, he squeezes the trigger. A muffled crack echoes through the night, barely noticeable over the sound of roaring flames and drunken revelry. The boasting cartel member jerks violently before slumping forward, his beer bottle shattering as it hits the ground. No one notices. Ramirez smirks. One down. Below, in the dense shadows of the courtyard, Callahan and his SEALs move like ghosts, dressed in all black, faces painted for nighttime warfare. They move with absolute precision, weaving through the gaps between crates, vehicles, and the outer walls, silencers attached, knives ready. A cartel lookout leans against a stack of ammunition crates, his head nodding as he struggles to fight off the effects of too much alcohol. A firm hand clamps over his mouth, and in one swift motion, a knife slides across his throat. He collapses, lifeless. Callahan lowers the body gently, his cold eyes scanning the compound. The bonfire still blazes. The cartel still drinks. They still laugh. They still believe they are untouchable. They couldn't be more wrong. Another cartel thug, slightly more sober than the rest, notices something odd. "Hey, where's Raul?" he mutters, looking around. A second man shrugs. "Probably passed out somewhere. You know how he gets." But something feels off. The first man stands up, stepping away from the fire, his instincts tingling. His hand drifts to the pistol on his belt. A cold blade pierces his ribs from behind. His breath hitches, but he never gets the chance to scream. The SEALs drag his body into the shadows, unseen, unheard. The cartel's victory celebration is about to become their funeral pyre. Then, suddenly, boom! A nearby fuel barrel explodes into flames, sending shockwaves through the compound. The cartel scrambles in panic. "Ataque! Nos están atacando!" But it's too late. The SEALs are already inside. The night explodes with gunfire and chaos. The SEALs move with deadly precision, their suppressed weapons cutting down cartel members before they can even aim. Ramirez continues picking off stragglers from his sniper nest, ensuring no one escapes. Callahan leads the charge, breaching the main building with a well-placed C4 charge. Boom! The doors blast open, and his team storms in. Inside, the cartel is disorganized and blind, caught completely off guard. They fire wildly, bullets ricocheting off walls. Flashbangs detonate, blinding light and deafening noise disorienting the enemy. In the chaos, Callahan finds Torres and the captured soldiers. He cuts their restraints and tosses them weapons looted from fallen cartel members. Torres grabs a rifle, his knuckles turning white around the grip. His eyes burn with fury. "Let's take back what's ours," he growls. The rescued soldiers rally, fighting alongside the SEALs. The tide has turned. As the compound erupts in gunfire, El Diablo retreats deeper inside, rage and desperation fueling his every step. He grabs a machete from a nearby table and turns just as Callahan steps through the doorway, his rifle raised. "You should have stayed out of Mexico, gringo," El Diablo sneers. Callahan lowers his rifle and smirks. "You should have stayed out of my country's business." El Diablo lunges, swinging the machete in a deadly arc. Callahan dodges, countering with a brutal punch to the ribs. The two men clash violently, fists, blades, and sheer will colliding. El Diablo fights with raw aggression, but Callahan's SEAL training prevails. He parries, counterstrikes, and waits for his moment. Then, an opening. Callahan twists El Diablo's arm, forcing the machete free. A single, devastating blow to the throat ends the reign of terror. El Diablo staggers, choking on his own blood, before collapsing. Callahan exhales. One warlord down, but there's still one more loose end. Elsewhere in the compound, Torres chases Ghost through the smoke-filled corridors. Ghost stops in an abandoned courtyard, breathing hard. He's not running. He's waiting. Torres steps forward, knife in hand. "You could have fought for something bigger, Ghost. You had a choice." Ghost smirks, his own knife glinting in the firelight. "I did. And I chose to survive." Then he strikes. Their blades slash and parry, a deadly dance fueled by years of history and betrayal. Ghost nearly gains the upper hand, his knife slicing across Torres's shoulder. But Torres is faster, smarter, angrier, with a well-timed feint. He dodges Ghost's next attack and drives his blade deep into his former friend's chest. Ghost gasps, eyes wide with shock. Torres leans in close. "You buried the wrong man." He twists the knife. Ghost collapses, his fight finally over. Torres wipes the blood off his blade, turning toward the sounds of victory. The SEALs regroup. The cartel is broken. But the mission isn't over yet. The smell of gunpowder and burning debris fills the air as the dust settles. The cartel compound is in ruins, smoke billowing into the night sky. Fires crackle in the distance, casting eerie shadows over the bodies of fallen cartel members. The SEALs stand victorious, their mission complete. Surviving cartel gunmen, those wise enough to drop their weapons, kneel on the ground with their hands behind their heads. Others flee into the darkness, their empire reduced to ashes and bullet casings. In the distance, the thunderous roar of incoming helicopters signals the arrival of U.S. military reinforcements. Black Hawks and Chinooks descend, kicking up clouds of sand and debris. Marines and DEA agents pour out, securing the area, detaining cartel survivors, and collecting evidence of the criminal empire's collapse. Callahan watches as one last cartel member tries to run. Crack! A single shot rings out. Torres lowers his smoking rifle. No loose ends, he mutters. In the aftermath of the battle, the rescued soldiers gather, their wounds treated, their spirits lifted. Ramirez clasps Torres on the shoulder. "You saved us." For the first time in years, Torres lets himself believe it. For too long, he carried the burden of past failures, haunted by the comrades he couldn't save. But tonight, he made it right. Callahan steps forward, surveying the battered but unbroken soldiers. "You fought like hell," he says, "and you lived to tell about it. You're going home as heroes." Torres meets Callahan's gaze and nods in silent gratitude. The weight on his shoulders feels lighter. As the helicopters lift off, carrying the SEALs and the rescued soldiers away, Callahan looks out over the desert. The night is quiet again. Torres sits beside him, staring at the fading battlefield. "We got them," Torres says. "El Diablo. Ghost. The whole damn cartel." Callahan nods, but his expression is distant. "We don't fight for revenge," he says. "We fight for those who can't, because there will always be another enemy, another cartel, another warlord who thinks they're untouchable." The SEALs know this. Their battle is never truly over. Back at the military base, the air is different. Not tense, not hostile, but heavy with reflection. The SEALs step off the transport aircraft, their boots hitting the pavement as they return to familiar ground. A few of them exchange quiet nods, others clasp each other's shoulders, acknowledging the battles they fought, not just against the cartel, but within themselves. Torres stands apart for a moment, taking it all in. For the first time in years, he doesn't feel like a ghost, a man haunted by his past. He's here, alive, standing among the best warriors he's ever known. He boards a separate transport, heading to a small town where his family waits. When the door swings open, his mother rushes forward, tears in her eyes. His father, once a disappointed shadow in his past, now grips his shoulder firmly. His younger sister, now older than when he left, stands at the door, hesitant, until he opens his arms. They embrace. Torres breathes in deeply. He's finally home. But peace is never permanent. In a distant part of northern Mexico, beyond the burned ruins of El Diablo's empire, a meeting takes place in a dimly lit room. Cartel lieutenants, survivors of the massacre, gather around a table. A single man, face hidden in the shadows, speaks. El Diablo is gone. Ghost is dead. But this war is far from over. A blade scrapes against the wood of the table. The Americans think they've won. A pause. A smirk. They have no idea what's coming. The screen fades to black. Is the war really over? Or has it just begun?